everyone, welcome back, and in this video I'll be giving you some information on the difference between user stories and traditional requirements. Now you might be thinking user stories are requirements. Yes, of course they are requirements, but this video I'm going to give you the difference between traditional requirements, which are used basically in waterfall and in other traditional software development methods, and the user stories. So let's get into it. So there are basically very few differences. So comparing, the very first difference is the application of user stories and traditional requirements. So if you see, for the user stories, they are used in agile organizations. Okay, so mostly it's companies that follow agile practices, they would adopt user stories. And as I said in the beginning, traditional requirements, they are used in traditional organizations using the waterfall, spiral, V model, etc. Most of them, they use these traditional requirements method. But according to latest studies and modern trends, some say that even the traditional companies are also seeing the benefits of these user stories, and they are slowly incorporating these user stories into their methodologies. So this can be very important to understand. The next one is the perspective. The difference which we are going to see is the perspective. So if you notice, the user stories, they are written from the perspective of the user. Okay, and the second one is traditional requirements, they are written from the perspective of the system. So if you see, for example, as a user, I should be able to attend online class so that I do not have to travel to the university. So this is written from the user. Whereas if you see the traditional one, it's written like the system should enable the user to attend an online course. So this would be a traditional requirement. So it's usually this user story, it's written in the language of the user. Okay, it's very easily understandable. And when you look at the technical, the traditional side, it's written in the language of the system, which is mostly technical. And only the person writing the requirement will be able to know what that is, and also the team. It's not very easily understandable by even the clients. If you go and show it to them, or even the management, sometimes it would not be very understandable. And the third difference is grooming. Okay, so user stories are groomed by the business analyst, okay, or the product owner, depending on what is the role that's in charge. It can be written by either the business analyst or the product owner. Whereas when you look at the traditional requirements, they are got from the user and are processed by a business analyst or product owner, and then written in the system language. So now let's say the client has come up to the business analyst or the product owner and says, for example, what we took earlier, as a student, I should be able to attend online classes so that I do not have to travel to university. So this is very clear from the client perspective or the customer perspective, and you write it down. You don't have to digest anything, you don't have to process any of this information. It's very straightforward. Whereas when you look at the traditional one, when you get these requirements from the user, since you cannot write it down in such format, you need to write it down from the system perspective. And in order to write it down from the system perspective, you need to convert the user perspective into the system perspective and then write it down. This is going to be really time consuming, because the burden is on either on the business analyst or the product owner in order to sit and digest and process that information and then convert it to the system perspective and language. So that's another difference. And the last one is it can be enhanced with more details provided by other team members. So there is these 3 C's, okay, that need to be followed when you write agile stories, okay. One is it should be in a card, okay, it should fit in a card. The next one is it should enable conversation or communication. And the last one is confirmation. So when you see the second C, conversation, it means that you get this requirement, this user story from the user, and the entire team can sit and discuss about that requirement. Because in Agile, one of the principles is collaboration, communication. So all the team members from different roles sit together and discuss about this user story, Sometimes business analysts or the product owners might lose certain scenarios. So in order to refine that user story, there are discussions, and even other members, it can be developers, it can be even the quality analyst, they can come up with some scenarios that had been missed, or some even other techniques that can be used to accomplish that particular feature or that functionality. So it's not only the business analyst or the product owner who contributes to a user story sometimes, it's even the team members who can contribute to that. Whereas when you look in the traditional way of working, mostly the teams is not involved in this phase. If you see in waterfall, the business analysts, they collect the requirements, they convert it to the system perspective, they document it, and then it's over. It's then pushed on to the next phase. There is not much of communication, no cross-functional teams coming into the picture. So therefore, it's one-man show mostly, where they put everything down and then it's then moved to the development team. So these are some differences between user stories and the traditional requirements. I hope you got some understanding of what are the differences between them, but altogether, to sum up, both are requirements, but the way you collect these requirements, who manages these requirements, and how you write down these requirements is what varies. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you found this useful, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to this channel, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.